Good evening. Welcome to Grand Blanc Township Board Meeting for Tuesday, November 25th. If you could all rise, join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Robertson, will you please call the roll?
I would be happy to call the roll. Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
Myself, of course, I'm here. Treasurer Yancho?
Here.
Trustee Fike?
Yes, here.
Trustee Hugo?
Here.
Trustee Brown is absent. Trustee White?
Here.
6 members present, a quorum.
Thank you. And now I would move for an approval of the agenda. However, I would like to amend the agenda as printed and move item 8E under new business to item 11A under the closed session to review attorney-client privilege memorandum pursuant to MCL 15.2431G.
Is that a motion, Mr. Supervisor?
Yes.
Then I will support that motion.
Okay,
A motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
correct.
Agenda as amended. Myself, yes. Treasurer Yancho?
Yes.
Trustee Fike?
Yes.
Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Trustee Brown is absent. Trustee White?
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you. And now we will move to public comment, and we have up first Anna Matson.
My name is Anna Matson, and I'm here to address my cost appeal for 2 FOIA requests. I receive estimates of $100,000 and $64,000 for records related to the fire chief and the fire station operations. I want to start with the very first line of the Michigan Freedom of Information Act. FOIA says it is the public policy of this state that all persons are entitled to full and complete information regarding the affairs of government, so that the people may fully participate in the democratic process. That is the purpose of FOIA: transparency, accountability, and public participation. When a government body issues 6-figure fees to access public records, that is not being transparent. That is not being accountable. That is obstruction, it is intimidation, and it goes directly against the intent of the law. The highest FOIA fee this township has charged all year is $75. My request was suddenly estimated at more than 133,000% higher. Last year, the township collected $981 total in FOIA revenue. I am being charged over 10,000% more than the entire amount for a single request. That alone shows these estimates are not normal, not reasonable, and not made in good faith. The invoices also reveal that the township has already located the records, and yet you still want to charge me for over 40 business days of IT. Also, FOIA does not allow charging for legal review. The law requires using the lowest paid, capable employee. But beyond the fees themselves, I want to address this board directly. You are the legislative branch of this township. You are the elected representatives. You are supposed to be the most accountable to the people. That is the vision the Founding Fathers had in mind. Legislative bodies were designed to be the closest to the citizens, to safeguard their rights, and to oversee the actions of government. That means you should be setting the budget, asking the hard questions, conducting investigations, and even reorganizing staff when they do not serve the township's best interest. And let me be very clear, this information is absolutely in the public interest. The public deserves to know whether their government acted properly and lawfully when placing a fire chief on administrative leave. That is exactly why FOIA exists. It exists for moments like this. This board should have demanded these records yourselves. You should have been the first ones to look into this, not a taxpayer and not a journalist trying to pry information loose through FOIA.
30 seconds.
So I ask you to reflect on the original intent of the Michigan Freedom of Information Act and to reverse the denial on my first request and to waive the fees on these requests. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Carrie Fritz.
Good evening, Scott.
Good evening. Good evening.
How are you boys feeling? Well rested, I assume? After our conversations this past week, it appears to me that you're both sleeping better than Mr. White does during a budget presentation. You must be, since you have zero regrets about anything. I learned a lot this week, a lot about a lot of things. Most importantly, I learned a lot about our firefighters, how selfless they are, how much they're willing to sacrifice, how hard they fight to get back up every single time they get kicked down. And they do every last bit of it, not for money, clearly, because their pay is a joke, not for recognition, not for anything other than your safety and well-being. They do the right thing because it's the right thing, no matter what. And that's more than can be said for you. You know you're wrong, and you're doing it anyway. $196,000 for what? To look those men in the eye and tell them that their safety, mental health, families, and lives aren't worth the bare minimum? Aren't worth the fight for the bare minimum? I firmly believe that you guys intend to set Chief Gent up for failure, make a mockery of him and the entire department, fire him, and then release a well-manicured PR piece so that you guys can walk away unharmed and unbothered. And for what? $300,000? That's what they're asking. That's equal to the amount it would cost the township to fire Dennis Limita. And why is that, Scott? Double it and add $182,000, and it's equal to what you approved to pave a road and add lights to a park with a 15-mile-per-hour speed limit that closes at dusk when the voters already told you no. It isn't about the money. It's about something else entirely. It's about boys picking on a group of men doing a job that you could never do, even if you were trained, because your moral compass points south. I look forward to the independent audit. I look forward to speaking to both of you again this week, and I look forward to seeing everybody again in 2 weeks. And by the way, my husband and I would happily pay $33 a month to ensure the safety of our firefighters, our community, and our family, but you didn't ask because you were too busy gloating and boasting and patting yourselves on the back.
I can't read the next name. Is it Pro Wrist or something like that?
Address?
On Primrose.
Hi, my name's Paul. I've been a firefighter for going on 33 years. 26 of those
Excuse me, sir, your name again?
Paul Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I've been a firefighter for 33 years. 26 of those I lived here in Grand Blanc. And your last city council meeting, I listened to the whole spiel about staffing, and there was a couple council members, a couple comments struck me. One of them was, you know, how are we going to do all this money? Has anybody ever done this? And I can 100% tell you, where I work in Rochester Hills, we've done this exact same thing 10 years ago. We hired a new chief externally. He came in. He did the exact same thing your chief's doing. He found all these deficiencies within the fire department. Staffing was one of them. We had to go out for a millage. So if you have any questions about how to do this, I strongly encourage you to reach out to Mayor Barnett. He's still the mayor there. He will literally walk you through the process of what we did. Of course, we have more money than we know what to do with in Rochester Hills. They practically printed at City Hall. But the other comment that struck me really kind of rubbed me the wrong way is at the end when Chief Gent and a couple council members were talking about budget, and they were like, well, find us the money. And I know every single one of you have had a car in the shop at one time, and the mechanic has given you bad news. You need a radiator, you need tires, or whatever it may be. And I guarantee you at no point have any of you ever thrown your bills on the counter and told the mechanic to find you the money for the repair. So this staffing issue has been kicked down the road by former council members. The former chief didn't lay out a plan, or whatever the case may be. However you found yourself in this situation, it's now in your guys' lap, and you have to deal with this problem. And so that's all I got. Thank you.
August Nyman's, I'm not sure.
August Nyans from Halsey Road.
Hands, okay.
I'm here to address this governing body on two issues that had developed in the Grand Blanc Township. The refuse pickup has degraded to the point that it now takes 2 days for the contracted service to complete the weekly refuse pickup in our neighborhood that was once a 1-day-a-week service. We are instructed to have our refuse out by 7 a.m. on the day of normal pickup. It is going to take 2 days to be picked up. Why should we have to have a refuse out to be picked up when it may not be picked up on that day? Living in a rural area of this township just encourages the varmints to have easy pickings, and if your refuse container was one the varmints decided to dine at, there will be signs of their decision the next morning. You can be rest assured the refuse the varmints left was not going to be cleaned up by the contracted refuse service. What are my choices to solve this problem? I could do it myself, but since I do not have a contract agreement with the township, it's best if I do not. I could call the contracted refuse company, but I'm at fast losing confidence in the current company that is servicing this township. I could call my township and explain the problem, but it may take months to resolve. The second issue is recycling program. When it was first started, it seemed like a good idea. The recyclables would be separated from the garbage. Originally, it was picked up by an entirely different type truck, but now the recyclables are put in a regular garbage truck. This leads me to believe that the recycling program in this township or the entire county has collapsed. As a taxpayer of this township, I petition the board to verify that the recycling program is operating as intended, and if not, to stop collecting funds to operate the recycling program in this township.
30 seconds.
Your mission statement says, delivering premier service to Grand Blanc Township through excellent customer service. As far as the garbage service in this township, that is not being met. Thank you.
All right, we'll close public comment, and we have a privileged presentation this evening regarding the 2025 year-end report from Hunter Carey, Rose Pest Solutions. I'm sorry?
I wanted to speak on public comment.
We need a comment form. It's over there on the side, if you would. Can we hold on, Carrie, for just a moment? Go ahead. That's all right. If you can fill it out afterwards and hand it to us.
Yeah, I'll just be quick. I heard about this $100,000 FOIA request. Who here is familiar with the 8th Amendment? Oh, that only pertains to criminal. Guess what? When you raise a fine so much that it's excessive like that, used as punishment, guess where we're at? 8th Amendment. It's also a violation of the FOIA Act. You guys better do your research. There's a lot more than that. I ain't going to take up any more of your time.
If you want to fill out one of the forms so we can record your name record. Okay, with that, if we can have the privileged presentation at this time. Regarding Rose Pest Solutions.
I'm not Hunter Carey, I'm Cliff Huff. Hunter has definitely made my job a lot easier because I don't actually have to go over the data of the year with you guys. But just here to say thank you, as always, for another year of partnership with Grand Blanc Township on the mosquito program. I think we had a very successful season this year. We ended the season with no outstanding calls for service. And obviously the drought towards the end of the year helped a lot. The weather was on our side, which was good. But again, just wanted to say thank you guys for another year of partnership. And now Hunter can give you guys the data.
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to go over a few quick stats for you guys. I know I ran through some stuff that maybe some people didn't quite care about in July, so I'm going to keep it short and sweet today. Main thing was in the or the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of July, we received over 500 calls for residual barrier treatments, and we were able to actually close all those plus any additional ones that we received throughout the month by the end of July this year. So that was a big step in the right direction for us. And then the other thing was that even with all of the drought and all the treatments, we were still able to do almost 1,000 gallons of barrier treatment material throughout the township this year. And then we were also able to use a little more larviciding material, which definitely helped us in the long run. So I'm very happy to report that. And we were actually able to close out every call by the end of the season this year. So that's all I got for you guys. So,
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on to approval of the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Mr. Fike.
Support.
Support by Ms.
Motion by
Hugo.
Fike, supported by Hugo on the consent agenda. Treasurer Yancho?
Yes.
Trustee Fike?
Yes.
Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Trustee Brown is absent. Trustee White?
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
Myself, yes. 6-0. Motion passes.
Thank you. And now we'll have an update with regard to our strategic plan on our community engagement, and specifically Grand Blanc Township University. Mr. Limita?
So you do have a copy of the 2025-2028 strategic plan in front of every board member. Again, this is the document that you guys create that drives everything that we do here as administrative staff. That shows us the direction that you want us to go into. You adopted this one or had the meeting on April 5th. This is one of the updates, and one of the biggest things that we had from the goal area of the board was community engagement, to find a way to engage the community on a variety of subjects. One of those things involved the Citizens Academy, which was the GBTU, and we had planned that for fall of 2025. I'm happy to say that that program was through, and with that, the Director of Athletics and Programming, Sonia Limita, will provide you with an update on what that program was all about.
Hello, good evening. Just wanted to recap. So the goal was to have this in fall of 2025. We were able to complete that. We did 9 weeks in total. All the departments led a different session each week, and then we finished with graduation. Overall, it was a fantastic program. The reviews that we received from everyone who participated were, they really enjoyed it. They loved coming every week. They learned a lot. They were engaged. They asked a lot of great questions every week. Overall, it was a really great experience, and we're looking forward to trying this again in spring of 2026.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Limita? Thank you very much. I thought it was a very worthwhile program from the sessions I attended. I know, Mr. Yancho, you attended several.
I attended all but one. It was a great program. Everybody was thoroughly engaged, and it opened a lot of people's eyes as to how township government works, all the departments. So I'm looking forward to the spring session.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to, the board will continue to discuss our fiscal year 2026 general fund and special revenue budgets. This includes further discussion regarding the proposed fire department budget. I actually have a statement from Damon Brown, was not able to be at our meeting this evening. He asked that this be read. One of our trustees. Statement from Damon Brown, trustee for Grand Blanc Township regarding fire department staffing. This is my statement alone. I do not speak for the township or my fellow board members. I'm speaking to you in writing, expressing my opinion and proposed resolutions regarding staffing. Next, every point I make regarding the issue of firefighting staffing includes a timestamp of public record from our board meeting on 11/11/2025. You will be able to hear direct quotes from Chief Gent and myself. Here's the link, and he gives the link for the YouTube video of our meetings. I support hiring additional full-time firefighters. In fact, I've proposed a solution to immediately hire a full-time position by reallocating unused resources. However, it is in the best interest of the township to remain a combination department which means using a mix of full-time and part-time staff. I don't believe we have a need for 40 full-time firefighters. I do believe we need additional full-time staff, so both stations remain open. 5 important factors to consider. 1, Chief Gent directed his administrative staff to remove the part-time firefighter posting. 2, Chief Gent did not directly respond to my suggestion of reallocating unallocated existing resources to hire a full-time firefighter immediately. 3, Chief Gent proposed a $400 annual tax increase to fund a full-time fire department. 4, 8.5% of fire department service calls are fire suppression. 5, the Board of Trustees did not place Chief Gent on administrative leave. Each of these key highlights are outlined with details and timestamps below. Number 1, Chief Gent directed his administrative assistant to remove the part-time firefighting job position. In my opinion, this decision exacerbated the staffing level issue because for 2 months, we were not hiring part-time firefighters or reallocating those resources to hire full-time. I asked Chief Gent why he directed his staff to remove the part-time firefighter job posting, and he has the timestamp, 2/20/30. On August 10th, Chief Gent directed his administrative assistant to inform our head of HR to remove the part-time firefighter openings from the township job postings. The post remained down until October 10th. He at first said he does not know where this came from. Then he immediately went on to explain it was because he wanted to add MFR requirements. However, the posting was down for several months. Number 2, I asked Chief Gent about reallocating resources within the department to immediately hire a full-time firefighter. He told us 15 part-time firefighters equals 2 full-time positions in terms of hours worked. For clarity, I referred to this as 8 to 1 during my question. He also said it is difficult to hire part-time firefighters. We currently have 12 openings. I suggested we hire 1 full-time firefighter and reduce the number of openings on the part-time firefighters to 4. This would allow us to immediately add to our full-time staff and would be a great first step to work towards his stated goal of increasing staffing, especially considering Chief Gent said it's been difficult to hire part-time firefighters. This interaction takes place in 2 places. The first, where I ask, is he considering eliminating existing part-time personnel to fill 1 full-time firefighter position, which is at 2 hours and 2 minutes and 22 seconds. Then at 2 hours, 22 minutes and 38 seconds, where I propose taking down 8 of the part-time firefighter positions to hire a full-time firefighter. He doesn't respond directly to this suggestion, but I plan to follow up. 3, Chief Gent proposed raising taxes to fund additional full-time firefighter positions, timestamp 2 hours, 15 minutes, 54 seconds. I agree with Chief Gent's conclusion. We would have no choice but to raise taxes to support a full-time only firefighter department model. He estimates an additional millage of $400 annually per household. Timestamp 1 hour, 45 minutes, 22 seconds. I asked him to work with us, the board, to go to the taxpayers and ask them for the millage increase. I believe his popularity and knowledge regarding fire science will be critical in gaining support for a tax increase. He responded he'd rather not do that. I believe we need all hands on deck. I believe he would be extremely helpful since he proposed the millage. 4, 8.5% of Grand Blanc Township Fire Department calls to service are fire-related. This comes directly from Chief Gent's report, timestamp 1 hour, 14 minutes, 29 seconds. As a board member, I use data points like this when deciding on voting for a budget for any given department. I have to ensure the resources we allocate are proportional to the calls for service. The budget difference between fire and police is not random, but based on efficient allocation of resources. We have more calls to fight crime than calls to put on structural fires. That's why there is a large difference in the budget. I'm not opposed to allocating additional resources to the fire department, but it's imperative for you to understand why there is such a large difference in the 2 budgets. A matter not related to the budget proposal. 5, the township board did not place Chief Gent on administrative leave. We were notified of this decision. It's extremely important to understand the role we play as board members. There are very few instances where we impact hiring or firing decisions. For example, the board had to confirm Chief Gent as the new chief. Example 2, when I was appointed, this was voted on by the board members. I encourage you all to attend Grand Blanc Township University, which gives you insight to the roles and responsibilities of each department within the Grand Blanc Township municipal government. In conclusion, my position is simple. I'm all for additional staff for the fire department, but we must start by reallocating existing resources within the department. For example, taking 8 of the 12 unfilled part-time positions and turning it into one full-time job. Next, while it would be ideal to have 40 full-time firefighters, the most fiscally responsible approach is a combination department. We can increase full-time positions, but we need to supplement with part-time positions. Whether you agree or disagree with my position, you know exactly where I stand on this issue. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Damon Brown, Grand Blanc Township Trustee. So, we've handed out, or we have on the table over here, the budget that Chief Gent has presented to the board as of yesterday at 5 p.m. And we were going to try and do a work session between last board meeting and this meeting. We just could not get everybody together at the same time. So we're just going to work through it tonight and have a discussion. And I have something that I wanted to present, but let's see here. I need a drink of water for a second.
Maybe we have water.
So we have the budget. Everybody can grab a copy if they'd like, because that's what we're going to be talking about tonight during this session. So one of the things that I'd like to start out with is a history of the township. But before I even do that, let me find some notes here. Well, so one of the things that our board has been concerned about fire for the last, since 2011, and I'll tell you why I know that date, because we had a joint fire department with the city of Grand Blanc. And I know that there's a few of you in this room that were at those meetings that we talked about that. One is a gentleman in the back of the room there smiling, but in 2011, the township took on the responsibility of being employer record for that joint fire department so that we could make sure that our firefighters were properly taken care of and make sure that benefits were being paid accordingly, what have you. In 2017, we got with the city and hired MGT for a cost of service study with the city of Grand Blanc. Our concern was that not any money was being put towards capital purchases. We had no money set aside to buy new fire equipment, new fire trucks, what have you. And so we said, you know what, we want a cost of service study to look at these issues. We also said that the city thought they were paying us too much for the fire department, and we thought that we needed more money to make this thing operate. So basically, we had the MGT study. The MGT study said, guess what? The township is subsidizing the fire department to the tune of $280,000 more than you should. We told the city, hey, you know what, we can't continue to do this to our taxpayers. You know, what do we want to do here? We didn't hear anything, so we set a deadline that, you know, we need an answer in the next 90 days. A few days later, they said that they were going to form their own fire department and that we needed to find a space. I think it was in 60 days. We had 60 days to move out and to prep this temporary site for our fire department. Another example is that, you know, since 2022, the township has increased the fire budget by $1 million. I don't think there's too many other departments that we've done that for, if any. Over the past 5 years, we have increased the budget 92%, or 6 years, I guess it is. And that's with no capital expenditures. That does not include capital. Over the past 2 years, we've spent $12 million in capital. These all show that we do have the concern of fire in mind. These things were brought to our attention by our experts, the firefighters, and we accomplished some things because we knew it needed to be done. Sleeping quarters in station number 2. You know, if we were ever going to have a chance of having that fire department staffed fully, we have to have accommodations, and there wasn't any. When it was built, it was poorly built. There was no sleeping quarters, what have you, so we built that out. Same with this facility here. One of the things we wanted to do was build a new fire station. Unfortunately, as soon as, probably, I don't know how long after we moved out of the city fire station, which was not staffed 24/7, we decided we wanted to build a new station. Well, COVID hit, prices doubled, you couldn't get construction done, so we figured out how to do it despite the cost increases without increasing taxes. We went from an on-call department to one of the best staffed in the county. You know, our firefighters, who are our experts that we relied on, said that we need a new truck. And so we've been trying to figure out how we do that. And so this past year, we budgeted for it. We bought a $1.9 million truck. We paid cash so that we could save, what was it, Mr. Lehman, about $300,000 by paying cash for that. You know, for the past 5 years, our fire department's given us annual reports that are glowing of what they've accomplished, and we're proud of that. Just May of this year, May 2025, we received glowing statistics from our fire department in their annual report, and we're very proud of our fire department. We wouldn't even be able to consider what Chief Gent's asking this board to do without the things that we've evolved to become. If we were with the city, obviously, we wouldn't have any of this. And so, over the past 6 years, we've really evolved. And we want to be the best, safest community in the area. And I think that's been our goal all along. This isn't anything recent. And one of the things that I'll show you is I have surveyed the other municipalities in our county, and we have those numbers for you that we'll share in a few minutes. So looking at the numbers on the budget, I know we've had a few questions with that. I know one of the concerns, go ahead, Dave.
If I may, Mr.
Yes.
Supervisor, through you, Chief Gent, if you could, step forward, please. Thank you. I mean, I just have a few questions from your commentary 2 weeks ago. One of the things you presented in your presentation, you indicated that you wanted us to sell or discontinue the purchase of the vehicle, the new truck.
That's correct.
As was mentioned a moment ago, we wrote a check for that for $1.8 million and saved $300,000 in doing so by writing the check and saving ourselves the cost for paying it in payments. If we cancel that transaction, how much do we expect to recoup? I can't imagine that they're going to write the check for $1.8 million back to us. They're going to want some portion of that for what we've done thus far. Do you know how much we're going to reclaim?
I'm looking at, I mean, we could look at options of possibly farming that out to another fire department to see if they would be willing to take our place in line for that $1.8 million price tag, or possibly put our place in line up for bid to another fire department that would be willing to take our place in line, because I'm sure there's fire departments that are out there that are looking for a aerial apparatus similar to that, that are just specking out an apparatus that would be willing to take our place in line, that are looking at a piece of apparatus that's going to be available in June of 2028, that are going to look at that opportunity and be willing to pay a premium price to get that opportunity.
But we don't know how much we're going to be able to recoup from the $1.8 million. You're not giving, do you have a dollar figure or a range of figure?
That's something I haven't even looked into, because I don't even know if that's even a possibility.
Superintendent Lemata, based upon the contract and the check that we wrote, do you have an idea of how much we would recoup and how much of the we would lose as a result of basically doing an about face on the purchase of the truck?
I can tell you that the contract has a cancel provision that has a penalty that you would pay, but that would be different than what Chief Gent just suggested about auctioning off the place in line. I don't, it's probably impossible for us to tell what that value would be. If you were to cancel it, it's a 10% cancellation at any time once we sign the agreement. If they started in any way, shape, or form, it's 30%, and then it's more based, if we did it a year from now, or if we did it, it's clearly it's how far have they moved along, what is their investment into it.
And it takes time to build a new fire truck, right? It was about a two-year process?
This was a 42-month build-out, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They haven't started the production on that vehicle just yet. So the sooner we pursue this option, the better off we're going to be.
But hypothetically, we could be shorted between 180, between 10% and 30%. That's 180 to 540,000 out of the 1.8 million.
If we just went with a straight cancellation, that's correct.
Okay. That seems a big piece of change for us to risk losing.
That's not something that I would be willing to do, is just a straight cancellation. I'm not looking to just outright cancel it. I'm looking to make money on this deal.
Is there any precedent for making money on such a transaction?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
but I'm willing to try it.
Okay, but we're entering uncharted waters with this. Would that be an accurate statement?
You were 100% correct.
Okay.
Mr. Yancho?
Yes, I'm looking at our old aerial truck, and it's a 2001, is that correct?
That's correct.
And the NFPA standards are for retiring, for first-line duty trucks, only service for 15 years. And after that, they should be put into reserve status up to a limit of 25 years. And we've already got a 25-year-old truck, and it's a 3-year program to build a truck.
That's correct.
So that means we'd be putting off having a truck that we could trust in service for another 3 years after we decide that we have the money to purchase another truck.
That's correct. We'd be looking at purchasing, not another aerial apparatus. We'd be looking at purchasing another pumper tanker is what we'd be looking at purchasing.
Then we wouldn't have an aerial truck?
We would refurb aerial 25 and get that up to NFPA standards to possibly get that recertified NFPA for another 10 years.
What's the cost for that?
You're probably looking at $200,000 to get that refurbed.
And we also currently have 5 other trucks, 15 years old or older.
Correct.
So we actually have only 2 trucks that are newer than 2012.
Correct.
So shouldn't we be thinking about replacing some of those trucks?
That's correct.
Have we budgeted for those?
They're in the capital improvement plan.
Mr. Supervisor, if I may continue, thank you for.
Is it on the equipment?
Well, I was going to finish my comment on the sale of the truck.
Okay, go ahead.
That seems like I said, I'm concerned about the potential loss of between 180 and 540,000 of the 1.8 million dollars that we've already spent. If we don't get the truck, what would effect would that have on our ISO rating? If we bought the equipment, now we're not, would that have an adverse effect on our insurance service organization rating?
I'd have to look into that. I'm not really sure. It doesn't have an effect on it right now. Our ISO rating would effectively stay the same.
Okay. I don't know, again, for the education of those that are in the audience, the ISO rating affects insurance rates for everybody in Grand Blanc Township based upon a number of factors,
Correct.
including the fire department, the equipment, the availability of water, a number of different variables, and the purchase of a nearly $2 million truck at the recommendation of our fire department prior to your arrival is a pretty serious item, and I have to wonder whether or not it would adversely affect the ISO rating. The second item, there were 3 things really that in your 2 weeks ago that jumped out at me. You also argued for a millage increase. Damon Brown Trustee Brown mentioned that in his remarks that Supervisor Bennett read into the record. It's a 1 mil renewal and a 2.5 mil increase. So we're looking at a 3.5 mil ballot question, millage question on the ballot. And it's your position that we should raise that millage.
It's a possibility.
Okay. That's a big piece of change. And I have to wonder whether or not our township residents are comfortable with a 2.5 mil increase. In your interaction with Trustee Brown, he mentioned that, he felt that you should be a champion for that, and you declined.
I don't even know if that's even legal, if I could be the face of that. I mean, I would support it. I would throw my support behind it 100%.
Okay.
But to be the face of something like that, I don't even know if that's a possibility.
Okay. Now, the fact that is, all of us here, we all want the best, safest level of service for our residents, and we want the safety of our firefighters for the budget that we have. The things that Supervisor Bennett has just read into the record are an illustration of this board's commitment to the fire department to the tune of tens of millions of dollars, both capital and personnel. You mentioned in your remarks 2 weeks ago that you want a third station built. I'd kind of like to get the ribbon cutting on the new building taken care of and see how we do with the new building, the multi-million-dollar building that we're close to finishing here. We're all going to be there for the ribbon cutting when it happens before we look at a third. Seems like a lot of dollars to build a third station after we've just built probably the best station.
The reason I bring up the third station is because the township is increasing in size. If you do change the service model of the fire department, you're looking at an increase in run volume. You're looking at an unserviced area in the area of Perry Road and Vassar Road. The station number 2 only has 4 sleeping quarters there. The new station only has 6 sleeping quarters there, so you effectively only have 4 people that are going to be able to be at Station 2, 6 people that are going to be at Station 1. You're not going to have enough sleeping quarters for the department size that you're going to need to handle that increase in run volume.
Okay. Well, let me just say, like I said, we all want the best, safest level of service for the budget that we have. We have a commitment to our fire service that is clearly demonstrated by the evidence that we've done over the last 6 years. Between the tax increase and the potential loss of revenue from the sale or the transfer of the sale of the truck, that's a pretty big hole, and that's a pretty big question or uncertainty in going forward. We have to take into account the fact that maybe a 3.5 mil ballot question might not be agreeable to the majority of our residents.
I proposed plenty of other options before the millage question. There were plenty of other options in that presentation before that millage question, and I want to use federal dollars. I want to use all those other options before going to the residents. But if we do go to the residents, that's going to be their decision.
I understand.
To make that decision.
I understand.
Wanna-
But with regard to, if I may, since you've mentioned the federal dollars, you made reference to the SAFER grants, and those are certainly worth, they can be pursued, but we have no guarantee that we'll actually be rewarded those grants. We would need money as matching money to get those grants applied for. We'd have to demonstrate a match. And then those monies are only short-term. Yes, they cover the initial cost, but within 2, maybe 3 years, the entire cost of a full-time employee is borne by the township itself, by 100%. So, we have no certainties or no guarantees there either, at least not long-term, and we have to think long-term. We have a plan, our strategic plan, that takes into consideration the fact that we just recently gone from a defined benefit to a defined contribution system for our police department. We have to bridge those costs from the defined benefit to defined contribution. And of course, that contract was passed and voted on by a 7-0 vote of this board. And we want to make certain that we stay on top of our pension obligations to our police and to all of our employees. And we have to stay on top of our other post-employment benefits, namely health care. And so these costs are going up every year. And again, we want to have the best, safest level of service for the budget that we have. And these are the concerns that I have, and I think they are shared by our other board members as well. So thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
On the fire trucks, so I pulled up a list of what they are, and basically, just to run through the years, they 1999, 2001, 2004, 2006, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. Then we have two 2016s and a 2017. Well, those are, the 2017 is a Ford pickup, but Explorer, I guess. But anyways, Sutphen 2020, we purchased that. And a utility trailer in 2024. But the only reason why I bring that up is we've got a number of aging trucks. It isn't like just one. I know you mentioned refurbishing. I talked to a few of the old timers, I shouldn't use that term, but a few of our senior people that were here about refurbishing. And apparently we did that when we had the joint fire department with the city. Basically, they said that when they renovate one of those trucks, they may change the body on it, but, sounds like the microphone went out, but they change the body, but the transmission, the drivetrain, the real working part of it, the engine, those don't get changed out. They go over them, to certify them, but you're still driving an old truck. And they said that when they did it, they ended up selling the trucks a year or two later because they just, didn't hold up the way that a new truck does. So my concern is that I really don't want to kick a can down the road for purchasing. And, it's kind of like robbing Peter to pay Paul. I don't really want to take money that's for something that's, once in 15-year purchase to pay for 1 year's operating, and then the next year, which truck are we going to sell to pay for the next year's operating? It kind of would lead to that cavalcade of things happening. So I'm really concerned about where we're at with our fire truck inventory and needing money for those. It was interesting to see the list, and I know we have a capital plan. I gave to the board what was approved in 2025 in terms of capital expenditures for trucks over the next 5-6 years. And then also provided them, which they all had, is the your fire department proposal that was in the original handout, and that we have the one that you sent yesterday. So there's quite a bit of work, I think, that needs to be done on the capital budget in terms of timing for buying these trucks. And I'd have to be convinced that renovating these trucks, I mentioned before that we had a nearby fire department that actually had a truck that broke down on the way to a fire, and I believe it was a total loss when that happened. So I would have to be convinced that we would want to spend the resources to do that. Mr. Kimmer, if you can put that slide up, I don't know if you want to put it here or where you want to put it, but while we're doing that, a couple of things on the financial that, I don't know, do you have a copy there, Chief John?
Which ones?
Your budget.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So one of the things that I noticed, and I might need Ms. Ms. Sostak here? Okay, there she is. Okay, I may need your help in a minute here, Ms. Sostak. Ms. Sostak is our finance director. But anyways, when I'm looking at medical insurance. One of the things that we're dealing with right now is, I'm not sure where that is. Is it right there? There it is, Matt. One of the things we're dealing with right now as a township is a 30% increase in our healthcare costs. And I noticed looking at that line item under medical insurance, it's line item 101-336-717. Go across and you see that the amended budget for 2025 was $270,742 for health insurance for our current employees, for fire department employees. And then you look over at the department requested budget, and I see $250,000. And we're looking at adding staff, and yet the dollar amount went down by $20,000. So I'm not sure what your thoughts are there.
Oh, that's my mistake. It was supposed to be 350,000.
Okay. Because I talked with our HR department and our finance, and I'm not sure how you did the calculation, but they said they weren't consulted on coming up with that number or the formula that we use for calculating out fringe benefits or health care. Let's see. We have on the screen right now, at least this one. I called around and spoke with the township supervisors, in some case the fire chiefs, to get what their numbers were. I know Ms. Hugo at the last meeting tried to find some numbers on Lara, and I'm not convinced that their numbers, somebody gave me some crazy numbers off that, and I said, yeah, I'm just going to call and find out what their numbers are.
It was directly from their website, Mr. Supervisor.
Right, but I'm just saying, I talked with some other people, and they said they looked at Lara too and verified that their numbers weren't correct from their municipalities. So you look at Atlas Township, number of full-time, 0, number of part-time, number of on-call, 14. City of Burton, 1 full-time chief, 1 deputy chief, and 1 administrator. The deputy chief serves also as the fire marshal. 0 part-time, 48 on-call. Clayton Township and Swartz Creek City, they have a joint fire department. They have 0 full-time, 1 part-time, and 26 on-call. Davison Township, which is, serves 3 municipalities, Davison Township, City of Davison, and Richfield Township, has 1 full-time, which is their chief, 0 part-time, and 24 on-call. Fenton City, I believe they only might have 1 full-time. Fenton Township, 1 full-time. I don't have their number of part-time or on-call. I don't believe they have any part-time in either of those municipalities. It'd be all on-call. Flint Township, 13 full-time, including the chief, deputy, and fire marshal. 0 part-time and 16 on-call. That sounds pretty impressive. However, when speaking with the township supervisor, she said that they have 1 full-time firefighter at each of the 3 stations at any given time. And so what they have to do when they do have a call is they have to call in one of their on-call firefighters to be able to fulfill the 2 in, 2 out rule, or NFPA standards, and probably my OSHA too, I would guess, or OSHA. So really, they only have 3, and they have 3 stations. And so they have 1 full-time firefighter at any given time at each of the 3 stations. One of the problems they run into with staffing is that if one of their full-time firefighters calls in sick, they have to bring in, I believe, another full-time worker. They can't bring in one of the on-call people to fill that shift, which leads to some issues. City of Flint said that their information is, for security reasons, they didn't want to release that. Flushing City and Flushing Township have a joint fire department. They have 1 full-time individual who serves as their code enforcement officer as well as their fire chief. They have 0 part-time and 13 on-call. Genesee Township, 1 full-time and 0 part-time. The rest are on-call. City of Grand Blanc, 1 full-time, 0 part-time, and the rest are on call. Grand Blanc Township, we have 8, including our chief, our deputy chief, and our fire marshal, and 28 part-time. Montrose Township and Montrose City Joint Fire Department, they have 0 full-time and 1 part-time chief, and 16 on call. Mount Morris Township and Mount Morris City have a joint fire department. They have 0 full-time, 0 part-time, and 70 on call. Mundy Township, our neighbor to the west, 0 full-time, 1 part-time chief, and 20 to 25 on call. Vienna Township and City of Clio have a joint fire department. They have 0 full-time, 0 part-time, and 37 on call. So looking at this, I think our numbers are pretty impressive. I know we can always do better, and we want to do better, but looking at the rest of Genesee County, and I know you're familiar with the Metro Detroit area with their counties and what kind of staffing they have, and we heard Rochester Hills mentioned earlier this evening with their staffing, but you know, based on what we see in Genesee County, I'd say that we have the strongest staffing of anybody in the county. Now, can we do better? Sure, I think we can, and I think we want to. And that's one of the reasons why we added on to station number 2 and why we're building a new station. So I'm not sure if the rest of these communities consider themselves unsafe, but I know that we're giving mutual aid about maybe 10 to 1 for every time we receive it. Something like that, maybe, I think, 3 times for the year we received it, and then gave mutual aid maybe 20 or more times. So it appears that at least with our neighboring communities, we're supporting them a whole lot more than they're supporting us with fire services. And I would imagine, as we become even stronger, we're probably going to be providing even more mutual aid for those neighboring communities. So I think, you know, everybody here on the board wants a safer community, and whatever we can do to help our police to make it a safer community, whatever we can do for our fire department, we want a safer community. But when we're looking at surrounding communities in Genesee County anyways, this is where the numbers are at. Ms. Hugo?
Since we're talking about staffing, I have a few questions for you. Prior to the October meetings, was staffing ever brought up in any conversations with anyone in the township on the board or administration?
I've brought up staffing since I've been hired here. In multiple discussions, I brought it up. In a safer grant proposal in May, I brought it up during budget discussions when I submitted my budget. I brought it up after Grand Blanc Township University. I had a meeting with the superintendent on staffing. You know, the firefighters were frustrated with our staffing, you know, and I had a discussion with the superintendent, you know, asking if there was any money left in the budget, if we could hire a couple of full-time guys, that it would go a long way in supporting goodwill with the firefighters. And I mean, he agreed with me, and we were going to pursue a joint statement, you know, going forward, that we were going to hire some full-time guys and pursue some positive things for the fire department. And so, yeah, there's been plenty of discussions about staffing.
The reason I'm asking is because on October 27th, I was told that staffing had never been brought up.
Oh.
I have a few other questions. Some people are thinking like maybe this request is a reaction to the LDS tragedy, and you just indicated that you had talked about staffing prior to that, so that question was answered. Station number 1 closes at midnight. So what that means is the people on the north side, if there was a fire or an emergency or anything like that, the fire truck would come from Baldwin Road, correct?
That's correct.
And how many additional minutes, like, I know a fire spreads, it doubles every 30 seconds, is that correct? Okay. How much time is that taking off?
I did a GIS study with Michael before I made that change, and it adds about 45-second response time.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, in your proposals for added staffing, would we be able to operate out of both stations 24/7? Would those added costs add both safety and protection to our people and give better service?
Yes.
Okay. One other question. Actually, I have two questions, and I don't know if this is for you or Scott or Dennis. In last meeting's presentation, it was shown that the call volume has increased from year to year. How has the staffing level changed since we started full-time staffing operations?
I believe they added 2 full-time staffing over the past 2 years. So it's been pretty consistent over the past 5 years. It hasn't changed all that much.
In terms of call volume, Mr. Limita, do we know how many, one of the things that we looked at was that we started doing lift assists for the assisted living facilities and independent living situations, and when we started doing that, it appears that it jumped up our call volume dramatically. Do we have a number of what what that did to our numbers? Or does Chief Junt know?
I actually had that information.
Do you have that
It
number?
raised our call volumes by about 30%.
Okay. So the increase that you see partly is, and my thought was that we were subsidizing basically the operation of the assisted living and the independent living places, and also individuals not calling an ambulance to do that. Our firefighters, risk hurting their backs, what have you, lifting some of these individuals, and I didn't think it was appropriate either. So Chief Junt discontinued that practice, so probably some of those numbers will come down due to us not doing lift assists.
I mean, I think that's, it's a necessary service, don't get me wrong. I think that's something we should
Right.
offer to the community. We were just not doing it correctly. We weren't.
Right, we're not prepared for it. Right. Mr. Feig?
All right. We have a budget that we have to approve within a month.
Well, in the next couple of weeks, yeah.
And you're asking to change what's been written to include all these firefighters, basically. Now, I got an email from you that said you wanted 11 full-time firefighters for next year. Is that right?
That's going to be full-time firefighters total. That'd be 11 full-time, 11.
Any additional?
That's going to be 4 additional for 2026,
Okay.
starting in April.
And that would cost an extra, how much?
$313,000.
Okay, and where would that money come from? I mean, you'd have to take it out of here, right?
That's correct.
Where would you take it again?
That's going to be up for your discussion.
So you're saying, I need $313,000, but I don't know where you guys are going to get it from.
You're going to have to find it from somewhere.
So,
Wasn't there a proposal to take some from police, some from here, take some from there?
Correct.
Was that your proposal?
I gave you a whole list in an email.
well, I'm confused because in your presentation at the last board meeting, you indicated there was 111 for each new firefighter. 111,000 a year.
Correct. It's going to be prorated from April with wages and benefits. It's going to be $313,000, and $313,000, $375,
Is that including benefits?
wages and benefits.
So does that mean that the next fiscal year, we'll be paying an extra $400,000 for those 4 firefighters, but you're going to ask for more firefighters for the year 2027?
Correct.
So we have to find, unless revenues magically increase, we have to find that money somewhere.
Correct.
So if we reduce our number of money to the police, that's going to be an ongoing reduction to the police department.
If you agree to hire more firefighters, that would be more money coming out of the general fund or another revenue stream, correct?
Regarding the SAFER grant, I did speak to the supervisor in Flint Township. She said that they've applied twice now for the SAFER grant in the past, not anything this year, but she said that they were turned down. She talked with some representatives of that, that helped decide on that, and they said that their financial situation doesn't qualify for getting the SAFER grant. Now, I don't want to cast aspersions on Flint Township, but they are going through some very difficult times financially in that township, and it's nothing recent with all the retail establishments closing, or a lot of them anyways. Their tax base is slowly eroding. And if they can't qualify for the SAFER grant, it leads me to think that we would probably have an even tougher time, because whenever we talk to people about giving us money, they always think that we have plenty. And I know that's not the case, especially this year since the state revenue sharing. I think we're being cut by, what is it, Dennis, a little bit shy of 150 or $150,000, something like that we're being cut. So the SAFER grant, and I'm all for finding grant money. I mean, we found grant money for the park. So, the work that you'll see going on out there, we found grant money for. The pathways, we've been able to be very successful. And believe me, we've been looking for grant money for fire and police too. We have somebody that's specifically their job is to find those grants. The problem that we have is that before we can spend money, we have to have it in hand. This is kind of like a closed loop system, right? That, the money that we have in that system is a set amount. And the only way that we can devote more money to one area of that system is to pull money from another area, unless there's some kind of infusion of money into that system. And that's what we're looking at, is either, A, we reallocate money from somewhere else in the budget. 2, we reallocate money from within the fire department budget. Or 3, I guess, would be to get an infusion of money from, whether it's grants, whether it's tax millage, I don't know of any other source of cash infusion. I guess a special assessment district could be done, I would imagine. But I really don't see any other infusion into cash. So really what we're looking at is, I think we said our board is committed to doing whatever we can to continue increasing staffing. We know that scheduling is a challenge. And it sounds like it's a challenge every community, not just Grand Blanc Township. So what we need to do is find out where we're going to get the money, and we can't base it on potential. We got to base it on real numbers, because the last thing we want to do is hire firefighters this year or for this next year, and then not have the money the following year. We hire them in April and prorate, what have you, but then when it comes to January of the next year, or December, when we're sitting in this same budget meeting next year, is we got to figure out who we're going to cut. One of the things that we have a proud distinction of here is that even during the downturn during the early 2000s or mid 2000s, we didn't ever lay anybody off despite the taxable value dropping through the floor. I want to continue that. I'd hate to get to the point. So when it comes to hiring people, I want to make sure that we've got the money for them to stay on our staff. I don't want to be so tenuous that everybody in our staff is sitting on pins and needles. Our police, I think, are here because they're probably concerned we're going to cut their budget. And you know what? I think I mentioned this at a previous meeting. When you look through the blue book of our budget, Joel has one right here, all the different departments, you look at what different department heads were asking for. And, for example, police was asking for a lot more than what they're getting. Obviously, what you're asking for, we're looking at hard and trying to figure out if we can afford your ask, or we're going to have to go with what we had prepared in the budget. So it isn't a matter of whether or not, we want to do something. It's, I think everybody here wants to try and make whatever improvements we can, but without infusion. Let's say that we decide tonight that we want to hire, I think you said 4 or 5 firefighters for additional full-time. Even if we decided tonight that we're going to go for a millage next year, we won't have that money till, the earliest we probably could do a millage is probably, May of next year or something like that?
Yeah, if you guys decide to move in the direction of asking the voters for additional millage, it would go on a ballot anytime during 2026. and then it'll go out on the December tax bill. You'll start to receive those receipts in February of March of 2027. And Chief Gent and I talked about that with the millage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know the board is resistant to EMS transporting and very put off by it. But there is a means to the end of EMS transporting. It pays for itself. It pays for the staffing. That is the way you bring manpower, full-time manpower, into the fire department because it pays for itself. That's how you staff the ambulances, to run the calls, to do the transports, and by that, you bring manpower to the fire scene. That's how you staff the fire department.
You know what, you would have my vote to look into that for next year, or not for this budget, but to look at that and see if that math equation works out. Because I've been hearing the contrary, that it costs money to have municipal EMS.
It does, it's a
not a-
cost-neutral process.
That it's not a net gain, it's a net loss in terms of when, by the time you pay for the equipment, maintain it, staff it, what have you, that it's costing the municipality. But I'd be glad to investigate that and look at what other municipalities are doing with that. One of the things that I just wanted to point out for those that wonder, you know, when you're wondering what a millage would be, and I know that's only one of the options, but because people will be wondering, you know, how do I figure out what it would cost me? The average home value in 2025 here in Grand Lake Township was $219,000. You take 50% of that value to determine the taxable value, which would be $109,905. And so then what you do is you multiply the 1 mil times that, or the 2.5 mil, or the 3.5 mil. And currently, for the house that has a taxable value, which is home value of $219,000, but a taxable of $109,000, their annual estimated tax is about $109. For 2.5 mils would be an additional $274.76. So 3.5 mils for a $219 or $109,000 taxable value would be $384. So anyways, that's kind of that. In terms of,
Can I speak to that? You know,
yes,
for that 3.5 mils, you're getting, at the bare minimum, 10 firefighters a day. You're getting transporting EMS for that and you're probably getting more than that. You may not even need 3.5 mils to get that. You know, that is top-tier millage.
Sure.
For that.
Yep.
So to say it's going to be 3.5 mils, we don't even know if it would be 3.5 mils.
Right.
So you got to put what you're getting for that kind of money, the kind of services that you would get for that 3.5 mils. It's a tremendous value for what you're getting for $394 a year.
Sure. Mr. Yancho?
Yes, you know, when we look at the fact that we're giving much more mutual aid than we receive, so when we give mutual aid, we're spending our taxpayers' money to provide services for Mundy Township or Atlas Township. If we increase our funding and put more full-time firefighters on, do you think they might look at us as their provider of fire protection? Because we'll have so many full-time firefighters staffing, they don't need to call their firefighters in.
Then it wouldn't be mutual aid, would it? And then you'd have to look at, you know, other options of, you know, contracting out services to that community. You know, that's the road you would be going down. You know, that's not mutual aid. That's taking advantage of.
Every time we provide mutual aid, our taxpayers are funding that mutual aid.
Correct. And that's where you get into cost recovery services, where you can start billing, you know, for the services that you're providing.
I'd also like to address grants. Grants are great for capital expenditures, but to provide payroll, because when the grant ends, it leaves you hanging. It's kind of like saying, gosh, I'd like to buy a new refrigerator, but I can't afford it this week. But the store down the road is offering it 90 days payment free. So let's go get a new refrigerator. And I don't have to worry about it for 90 days. But at the end of the 90 days, the payment comes due, but I can't pay it. You know, that's the kind of thing that I look at for the SAFER grant becoming.
It gives you 3 years to figure out, you know, how you're going to pay for those employees that you're employing, you know, whether you're going to, you know, do a millage or whether you're going to figure out, you know, how you're going to reallocate funds in your general fund
But if
to pay for those
if we
employees.
say that we're going to plan for a millage down the road and the millage doesn't come through, do we have to lay off those extra firefighters because we don't have the money to pay for them?
It's a distinct possibility.
I don't want to be faced with that.
Ms. Hugo?
First of all, thank you for the presentations that you have given. I noticed on Friday, there was an email that was sent to you at 6:30 PM, and the board wanted answers by 5 PM on Monday. I personally don't think that that's okay. Second, I had suggested an internal audit previously, and at the last meeting, I requested it. Now, Scott and Dennis both indicated that it will be on the December 9th agenda. What are your thoughts on an internal audit? I know the budget and staffing is like our main priority, but what are your thoughts?
An audit or a study of the fire department?
I was thinking an internal audit myself, but
That's going to be up to the board's decision. Whatever the board decides, I'm fine with.
okay. Another thing, I told residents, I put on my social media page that I would ask Dennis, for the allocation of funding in the budget for 2026 to add the needed personnel that you need. On November 22nd, I was told we can always amend the budget. I just don't understand why we're playing this game. I don't understand why we're playing this game.
Please explain yourself playing the game. I don't understand the game.
Well, I feel like we're going back and forth and give us this and give us that, and I get it, but I also feel like it's like a little bit of bullying, personally. So I apologize if you feel that way.
Who's being bullied?
I'm not going into that on record. I do think that he's been bullied, but I'm not going into the other conversations.
Yeah, this is about numbers tonight. This isn't about personalities or what have you. You know, in terms of amendments, we've had the budget, the blue book, since beginning of September. The whole board has had this.
Yep, we got it. I went
And
through
if you
it.
notice, there's a column that says amended budget.
Yep, I got it right here.
Right. So you'll see that we regularly amend budgets. We do it throughout the year through budget amendments.
Okay, so I'm a little bit confused on numbers here, and I'm not a math person. But, so the amended budget says
Are you looking at
$763,236.
the one that we handed out from Chief Gent tonight,
Oh.
or which one?
It's the exact same one. I printed it off myself today. Oops,
Okay.
I don't know where it is. So.
Which line item?
So salaries and wages. So the 2025 activity, this is as of September 2nd, was $506,824. The 2025 amended budget was $763,236. The 2025 projected amount was $855,923. The requested amount was $1,203,100, and the approval for that was for 2026. And the amount that was approved was $765,481. So,
That isn't the one that was sent out yesterday to us.
Let me see.
You're referring to the budget from September 1st.
That was the September 1st budget you're referring to, Ms. Hugo.
I don't think
There's a
so.
copy right here.
I got it directly from here.
This is the copy right here that we're considering.
I don't recall seeing this, I'm sorry.
That's the copy that Chief Gent sent to us as his proposed budget.
I got kind of lost in all the attachments that you sent, so I apologize for that, Chief Gent. Whatever. I'm done.
So,
This was from our website, just so you know.
when we look at, budgets, what happens, there's the whole process of coming up with this budget. Typically, what happens is that starting in Mr. Lemata, probably July, August, you start, Mr. Lemata meets with department heads in July and starts having discussions as to what are the pressing needs for any particular department. And taking those pressing needs and figuring out what kind of increase they're going to need, what have you. And that's where department heads, like I said, chiefs meet with Mr. Lemata, with Ms. Sostak, probably even Ms. Niedzwicki, our HR person, looking at those things, and come up with what would be a realistic amount that they could actually fund. And so that's why you see a requested amount, and then also the superintendent's recommended amount. There's no bullying. That the bottom line is that it's all numbers. We have to figure out what we can afford. And the other thing is that I just want to mention is that, Mr. Lemata passed out the strategic plan. Our board has a track record of significant accomplishment. And we've done that by having a plan in place over the years. You'll see that, one of the things that you'll notice under objectives is 911 EMS response time and service to Grand Blanc Township residents. This was put together at the beginning of our term. This isn't something that we came up with in the last couple of weeks. Our board said 911 EMS response time and service to Grand Blanc Township was a priority issue that we need to investigate. We said that the board discussion to explore and understand the issue and potential solutions and going forward. A review of legal opinions regarding our current dispatch methods. Determine financial viability of moving away from Genesee County 911. Discuss working with City of Fenton on a PSAP. Board to study and hear presentations regarding moving to a different response model, including medical response, cost and time frame versus private EMS. So we were talking about this a while ago. It isn't anything recent. And then I think in another section of this plan, it also speaks to County 911 and EMS response again. Discuss the role of the Township PD and Fire Department regarding MFR, EMS, lift assist, explore all service delivery methods to maximize service to residents. So these are things that we had in our plan to look at. This isn't any recent revelation that all of a sudden we've decided that we're going to look at. This is something that we said from the outset that we want to do. Now, keep in mind, that's still our plan, is to look at that. One of the things we had to do is build the fire department and finish the renovation. So it is.
Fire station.
Fire station. So it has been in our plan all along. But I'm not sure, one of the things, we have to have the money in place before we can actually make decisions. I'd like to have Ms. Sostak come up for a few minutes. If you can bring the budget with you as well, or the proposed budget.
Can I address one thing
Sure, go ahead, Chief.
before I go?
Yes.
I don't know.
I'll probably have you come back up.
Yeah, I don't know where Trustee Brown insinuated I wanted to go away from a combination department. I don't know where that came up. But in every proposal I've ever presented, there was always been a part-time contingent in the fire department. It's always been, for the foreseeable future, there's going to be a part-time contingent in the fire department, because we're always going to need that additional manpower as fill-in for emergency callbacks, just as additional manpower on scene. We're always going to need that manpower in the Grand
I
Blanc
was
Township
thinking
Fire
he was
Department.
meaning that if you take, I think, what was 15 part-time to equal 1 full-time, that if we hire that full-time, we'd be eliminating 15 full-time.
That's just a working hours, minimum working hours
Right.
factor. That's what that is.
Okay.
I just want to make that clear.
Okay. We'll probably have you back up here too, Chief. Thank you. You might want to pull the microphone down a little bit, Ms. Solstack. So I know that we have a formula for figuring out fringe benefits and what have you, right? Is that something the HR does or something that your department does, Ms. Solstack?
The HR department does that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, typically based upon, obviously with a DC pension, we pay 15%, so it'd be 15% of the salary. Medical costs depend upon, what our projections are for medical increases. Same thing with all of our insurances, dental insurance, life insurance. So yeah, there are formulas for all of those.
Okay. Did you look at the proposed budget at all, or at this proposal?
Yeah, the one that was just sent yesterday?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
I did look at it.
All right. Any thoughts on the numbers or what have you here?
I guess I'm not sure on everything that goes into this right here, without, same thing with salaries, without, the HR based upon the contracts, but, and now seeing that it's going from April forward, it's prorated for the year. Yeah, I did not go back through and recalculate these numbers, no.
Okay. Anybody else have a question for Ms. Solstack regarding financial? In terms of taking money from, or let's say that we sold the truck that we purchased that's on order, how does that happen with the capital funds in terms of, the money that we used to buy that fire truck came out of our capital fund, right? Our capital account.
Yes.
And so we probably put off some other capital expenditures, did we, to be able to afford that, or?
Yeah, and we knew about that. That's why we do a 5-year capital plan every year, so that we can start projecting for those large purchases. We can start putting money aside every year. So typically, we've put about $500,000 to $1 million from the general fund into that capital projects fund, and we were saving up for the purchase of that truck. We knew it was, coming up in the future, so that's typically any large purchases, that's what we do.
So police cars, any major equipment comes out of that capital account?
Correct, yes. And by purchasing that, the fire truck obviously was something that we had been saving up for, but it pretty much wiped out that capital fund. This year, we had to do a number of cuts from the department requested budget in order to provide you with a balanced budget this year.
From other departments, not, we had to
Right.
cut from other departments,
Yes, cuts from other departments, yes.
just to make the budget work.
To make it balanced, yes, that's correct.
Okay. Mr. Fike?
I don't know that this is for Colleen.
Kathy?
Kathy, I'm sorry. Wasn't there a document, there's so many documents here, I'm a little overwhelmed, that said, all right, in order to get this fire department request, we would have to do the following things: cut from here, cut from there, cut from there. Was that?
Those were suggestions that Chief provided to the board. 'Cause I
And
asked him to help us find the source for those revenues. So that's actually, I think, not only in the one that he's provided on yesterday, but the one last week as well.
so is that still are we still talking about, like, if we're going down this path of the budget,
Miss-
are those things that, have you seen that, where specific cuts to this to accommodate the fire.
I was copied on an email yesterday, and I believe that's, what you were talking about. There was like reducing the $500 transfer from the general fund to the capital projects fund. But if we did that, that would have a domino effect. We'd have to go back and rebalance or cut another $500,000 out of the capital projects fund in order to make that happen. I believe there was also $200,000, or suggestion to cut, I believe $200,000 from the contribution to the OPEB, like we typically do every year. That is an option, but, it does have ramifications that it, puts the unfunded liability, it just pushes it further down the road. So, as long as we make the required contribution, you can get away with that, but at some point, it is going to catch up with you.
Was there police cuts in there?
There may have been some.
Mr. Limedal?
I believe.
Yeah, we funded the marked patrol, but we weren't able to fund the unmarked vehicle replacements that were requested.
And like some community gatherings in there that would have to be cut?
Again, it was a suggestion when Supervisor Bennett had asked Chief Gent to provide, like 4 examples of what could possibly be. They do all have ramifications. I mean, it wouldn't be, I don't think those recommendations would be, certainly not my recommendation, probably not Finance Director Sosak's either. I think if you guys are moving in a direction, a couple things need to happen. For the short term, if you intend to put some additional funds behind the fire department to add, a position or 2 positions or whatever that number ends up being, the board, there's something else that's going to be unfunded. We have to have a balanced budget. We can't spend money we don't have. The revenue comes before the expense. So our revenue is projected out a year and a half in advance. And it's again, it's finite amount. We don't know exactly, but we're always been pretty close. In fact, we've been within about 2% of revenue projections, and that's because of the strength of our staff. Kathy Sosak, as finance director, certainly our assessors do their job and make sure that we don't get a lot of MTT challenges that could impact us. But it is a finite amount, so it's a balance. It's a yin and the yang, right? We're going to move from somewhere and go somewhere. Can we move a couple $100,000, if that's the question, because you want to add, and I'm throwing that out as 2 firefighters. I think like the actual dollar amount with full fringe benefits, everything, full cost of the township of the newest firefighter that we have costs us about $140,000 a year. So you want to add 2, it'd be $280,000. If he's going to have them, I think Chief Gent had said on April 1st, then obviously that would be prorated back from that $280,000 amount. Plus you're going to need some training, you're going to need firefighting items, equipment, whatever. So you put that together, put your plan together, but it's short term, can we do that? Sure. Again, with the budget, we put it together, and I have to deliver by September 1st every year. I have to deliver a balanced budget. It has to be balanced, what I give you. What we do is we take what your priorities have been. You direct us through your strategic plan, certainly, because you're telling us the things that are important to you and what have to be financed. And then you direct us through policy, and through your vision. You're telling us these are the things. And in the 10 years I've been here, our focus has always been on getting rid of those unfunded liabilities, and you've done a phenomenal job of doing that. As you begin to shift and expand, we have to let that revenue catch up. So, I mean, if the board decides to move in the direction of a changing service model, I'm going to push you to develop that strategic plan around it. And that's been the conversation that Chief Gent and I think he was here a week, and he said, man, I need 6 guys to make this, work right from the get-go to really staff it the way in his vision it should be staffed. And my response back then was, well, it's a strategic plan item, the board, mid-year, I can't flip a switch and find $700,000, right? It's not possible in our budget. Our money's been allocated. And if you recall my budget presentation of a few weeks ago, I said the difference between the private sector and the public sector. Private sector may or may not have a budget. The public sector will have to have one. It is a legal document. You do have to follow it, and you do have to do amendments when you're going to make changes. So it's so hard to shift gears once we've allocated and pushed it forth. But when we start talking about those amounts, this is how the process works. I recommend what I have to recommend to make it balanced based on what you guys have told us were your priorities. And it goes to the board, and this is your opportunity to say, you know what, we're shifting priorities. We've heard about a concern that we've had, and we want to shift priorities. It's tough to do it at this time of the year, quite frankly, because we have very little time left. You mentioned earlier, you can always amend a budget mid-year if that's where your priority shifted. You tell us that, and we'll do what we do to try to make that work. But it's coming from somewhere, and I will turn and look at the board and say, where do you want it to come from? If you said take, $500,000 out, I'm going to say, where would you like it to come from? Because you 7 individuals, this is your budget, not mine, not hers, not, this is your budget that you're going to approve. You 100% control where that money's going and where it's been and where you're going to allocate it to. And so we would ask your help, because if you're making a decision, a change in priorities, you don't want me making that decision. I'm not the collective wisdom of the 7 individuals here. That needs to come from the 7 of you telling us that we've shifted some priorities. Maybe it's, maybe it's PD, maybe it's, whatever. If you read social media, it's Parks and Recreation. Well, I know, that wouldn't be very popular for a lot of people. And really, you could close your parks and lock the gates and put a for sale sign in them. And how much money would that free up from the general fund? $500,000. I mean, realistically. One time, and then moving forward, theirs is driven by a lot of other, they have a parks millage, a quarter mill, or they had, they still have it. They'll still be collecting it next year, so no money's miraculously gone to Parks and Recreation. It's still on the December tax bill. They still have their millage coming in next year. So there's been a lot. That's just misinformation that's been out there. But if we don't pass another Parks and Recreation millage, you guys are going to be faced with where we were 10 years ago, where the deferred maintenance, you had buckled basketball courts that had to be locked down and closed off. I mean, that kind of thing. They generate a lot of their own money through rentals, and then they generate the community engagement, which is a priority. So again, if you're going to start changing, then I would recommend you go back to the drawing board on your strategic plan and give us as staff the new vision of where the board wants to go, because that's what drives, we're trying to be responsive to your vision.
Yeah. So and that has a cascading effect, though, too, because unless you're putting new money in the system, you move dollars around, it moves a lot of things around. But is that accurate statement, Ms. Ostak?
Yes, definitely, yes. Okay. Yes, if, really the only way to change the budget in such a dramatic way as this, you either have to have a revenue source or you have to reduce expenditure somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's hard to hear you.
I'm sorry. You either have to have a revenue source or else, decrease expenditure somewhere else to put them towards, this, if you choose that to be a new priority. We've always followed the direction of the board and, their strategic plan and with the unfunded liabilities, and we've been trying to work on those. But, if the priorities change, we can move the monies around in the budget, but it, obviously, unless you have increased revenues, there is going to have to be a cut somewhere else.
Right.
I would also recommend too, if, with such a dramatic change, that you look with uncertain revenue sources too, that you maybe do a 5-year projection to see where you stand. Just because, like you said earlier, you don't want to hire somebody to eventually have to lay them off. So, just like we do with a capital plan, we try and plan for it. And when we're looking 5 years out, you can also do a financial forecast of, what the general fund would look like. And, give you a better idea of if this revenue source, materializes, then you would be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Lehman, one of the things that I just wanted to ask you about, you've had communication with Chief Jen about staffing, back and forth,
Oh, absolutely. Since I said the first week he was here, I was on vacation, and I came back, he had a proposal written up. I think it was for 6, and I think when he came in and looked at operations, he said, right off the bat, within the first week, he identified that with the staffing that they had and where he believed that we should be between the 2 stations, another 6 full-time firefighters would make the difference. So we had that conversation. Response back, again, we got to create a strategic plan, show it to the board, see if they support it. it's a process, right? I couldn't fund it in mid-year. You know, we've had various conversations that were ongoing the entire time. I don't disagree with Chief Gent on where, you know, can we have a safer community with additional firefighters? I don't disagree, and I told him that all along. I've never disagreed with that concept. What I have to do is balance it. The revenue has to come first. The expense always follows the revenue. So it's about creating the revenue stream first. And so whether that is millage or Public Act 33, special assessment, you know, like, that really is driven by the board. It has to come from the board that we're going to do this, and it has to become part of your strategic plan. So you're saying, you know, we want to do this, and then we look out 3 to 5 years, like Kathy said, and to make sure that we're not getting into a situation that we're putting you into an unfunded liability of our own when we've done, you know, such a good job of 10 years of erasing unfunded liabilities, paying for the sins of the fathers from prior boards who made a lot of promises that didn't put the money aside for. We've been erasing a lot of that, done an amazing job with retiree health care, did a great job with the police department pension. I mean, 74% funded from like 53% funded 10 years ago. You're doing the right thing. You're getting rid of those old costs. You're paying down the interest on your credit card so that you're freeing up the family budget to be able to move forward and add those things, to add more firefighters. So you change your strategic plan, and then we look at it and say, you know, if it's, maybe it's 8 more full-time in 3 years or 5 years, whatever that is, that we could conceive that the revenue on a millage, and then you get the millage question out there, you start putting those plans in place, the millage gets approved by the voters, we know the money's coming in 2027. Once that millage is approved, we can start ramping up recruitment efforts and planning efforts, so that gives Chief the ability to now start building his department, knowing that he's going to have X amount of dollars coming in 2027, right? And then we start carrying out your strategic plan. It becomes a new part of when we deliver the budget every year. We're working that budget to get where we've been instructed to by the board.
So, looking at this latest budget or finance from Chief Gent request, I think it's for $2,842,542, right? So I think the narrative says that we could add 5 full-time, new full-time with that. Basically, that budget of $200.8 million is $501,000 more than last year's amended budget. Is that what, I don't know if you have those numbers there, but that's what my math came up with, was 501,000.
You would also need to add 100,000 because the medical.
Okay, so 600, so 601,000 over last year's amended budget. So, and again, I'm not sure if those are accurate, because we need to check with HR and finance to see, some of these numbers aren't necessarily reflecting, when you compare them to previous years, an increase. But anyways, that'd be about a 21% well, more than, that'd be at least 25 with another 100,000 on there. Percent increase in the fire budget for this year. And that 111,000, I'd want to do some math on that, but it would cost to hire a new firefighter. But anyways, your contention is, Ms. Ostak, is that to make that kind of wholesale change, adding $600,000 from last year is going to take some work to figure out where that's coming from, because we obviously can't spend the money before we have it in hand, and we can't promise to hire people without having the money in hand.
Correct. Yeah, we would need to, you know, if you're looking at a one-time fix, you know, we probably can squeeze some areas. You know, if you want to reduce the contributions to unfunded liabilities, I mean, that's going against what we've done in the past, but that is an option. But, you know, my concern is going forward as well. This isn't, we're not looking at just, you know, a capital purchase where it's a one-time purchase. You know, this is going to be ongoing, and you have to remember that, you know, those figures are going to increase every year as well. just with cost of living, wage increases. So, I wouldn't be comfortable doing it until, we did some sort of a projection further out, long-term, to see if we truly could afford this.
Clerk Robertson?
I have nothing.
I'm sorry?
I have nothing.
Oh, I thought you had your hand up.
No.
Anybody else have any comments?
So stack, no.
Okay. Oh, you have any other questions for Chief
Well,
Jett?
just a comment in general. I don't know if anybody here has any more interest in the safety of our township than I do. My wife and I live here, my grown children live here, my grandchildren live in this township. But I can't take direction from 100 people that might fill this room or 200 or 300 people on social media. I have to take my direction from the 40,000 some odd people that are residents of this community. So I haven't heard anything from those 40,000 people that this is where we need to go. And, I represent those people, all of them. So I would support a strengthened fire department. Absolutely, I would. I would also, I shudder every time I drive down I-75 and see one of our officers pull a car over, and I know that there's only one officer in that patrol car, and in the times that we live in, that's a dangerous thing. I'd love to see 2 police officers in every patrol car. We don't have the money for that. I'm sure the chief would go along with that as well. We just can't spend the money we don't have.
Anything else for Ms. Ostak? Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah, thank you. We'll have to, my thought is, I haven't heard anybody up here say that we're against strengthening the fire department staffing. I think we all want to do that, but the numbers we have in front of us, I think, need to be gone over and crunched a bit more, and also figure out where we're going to get the funding to do that. Yes?
For the
Mr.
next
White.
meeting, can we, I've heard for 4 new firefighters starting in April. Can we have some numbers for, because I'm hearing from everyone that there is interest, whether or not 4 is the number it should be next year. For, say, 2, what would 2 cost if they started in April? I mean, I suppose I could proportionally just cut it in half, although I don't know if that's actuarially correct or not. So we have a couple choices, because we're getting into December, and
Yeah.
eventually we gotta start showing our cards and making a decision, because we don't wanna wait until Christmas time. We really don't wanna wait until December 23rd meeting,
No.
right before Christmas, and do this.
Well, I think, Chief Gent was saying that April was the date that he was looking to try and add some additional
I just
staff.
Get the budget done. We don't wanna
Right.
wait until the last possible.
Right.
to do the budget.
But I think what we're going to have to do, because to rework this entire budget, our finance department, I'm not sure, has the time to do that in the next 2 weeks. So I think what we're going to have to do is have a deep dive into this, even to the first of the year, and figure out, and actually have our HR and our finance department look at these employee costs and come up with the actual number that the cost would be, and see what we could actually put into the budget, even as an amendment after we pass the current budget. And that can happen in January, it could happen in April. But we can do that whenever we choose to. But the numbers that we see right now, I think we need to make sure they're accurate before we ever voted on that or change the entire budget for it. But I agree, I think we can come up with some scenarios. I'm not sure if we'd have them for the next meeting, but we can look at what some of those costs are, so that we kind of have a thumbnail sketch when we do start to look at that in January. So good suggestion, Mr. White.
I have a related question.
Yes.
Can I ask Chief Rainey a question? It is related to all of this.
Sure. Chief Rennie?
Yes, sir. Just seeing a lot of stuff on social media. Could you apprise what the current status is of the federal investigation into, if you know, where the ATF, FBI, where their investigation into
With the church shooting?
Their investigation is complete. The state police still has an active investigation involving our officer. That's why we have not released anything just yet. The state police, they feel like maybe in the next week or two, they will have that completed. And after that, that will be reviewed by our local prosecutor, David Layton, who will determine if that was a good shooting or not.
In the FBI report, did they address township staffing at either fire level or police level? Did they conclude whether or not this had anything to do?
No, they don't look into that. No, they don't. Yep.
I can tell you this, that I did speak to the, I don't know, I can't recall his name or his title, but he was in charge of FBI for Michigan, sought me out, actually at the vigil that we had at the high school, and told me beforehand that he's worked with many fire and police departments throughout his career, and he said that ours received the highest praise from him of any that he's worked with, and really spoke extremely highly of both the police department and fire, and said that we really need to thank them for the job that they did and how prepared they were for this.
Yeah, we heard that. That was Reuben Coleman, and we also heard from the special agent in charge of the ATF who echoed what Reuben Coleman's statements were as well. And it was a great job by our entire staff all the way around, our police department and our fire department as well. So, good job.
Okay. Does anybody have any other comments with regard to the fire budget? So I guess in summary, I think our board.
Just quickly, I just want to address something about the part-time posting.
Yes.
I don't know where Trustee Brown got that the posting was taken down.
Trustee Brown?
Trustee Brown got it where it was taken down for that long. It was taken down, but it was not taken down for that long because I hired part-time firefighters in June. I hired part-time firefighters in July. I did interviews for part-time firefighters in September, and I hired part-time firefighters in October. So
right.
It was not taken down for that long. And you saw the interview, or the email that I sent you guys about that posting as well, trying to explain the reasons for that, why it was taken down. And also, a new firefighter, when they're hired on at 90%, according to their contract. And a first-year firefighter with wages and benefits is $90,742 is their first-year pay with wages and benefits.
Okay.
Just in case you guys wanted to know.
So, while you're here, Chief, I think that contrary to social media, I think everybody here is on the same page with wanting a strengthened fire department. I know that Superintendent Lemata met with a number of firefighters and discussed what they would like to see, and I think they walked away saying that they had a lot of commonality in what we see for the future. I think, I don't want to look back at, what may have transpired in terms of heated arguments, what have you. I want to move forward, and I want to work collaboratively, the board, as well as you and your department, to continuing to make this the best fire department in the state or wherever. I think we are well on our way, and I hate to see our department, I won't even say besmirched, but, this tarnish our fire department or our township. I think that we can move forward. It was a horrible tragedy that we suffered a couple of months ago that none of us ever want to have again. And it brought a lot of emotion, a lot of feelings, a lot of sensitivity. And I think everybody here has been dealing with that, whether it's our firefighters, our police officers, even our staff here has felt that. And so I think, let's look at moving forward and not look back unless we want to make sure that we're covering any sins from the past in terms of being more prepared but let's look forward and figure out how we get to where we want to be. You know, we may want to get to, from point A to point Z, but it's not going to happen overnight. And we've come a long ways. I know that we shared a little bit of our history of the fire department, and I know you said thanks for the walk down memory lane. But the bottom line is we have come a long ways in the past 5 years, and I think you'd be hard pressed to find any of our firefighters even to say that we haven't. I mean, I remember spending lots of hours at this board dais with our board members that served, or board member that served on that joint fire commission, and it was a struggle to go from that to what we have today. And so you have my word that I'm committed, and I think you've heard from everybody else here that we're going to continue to be committed to making sure that our first responders are the best prepared, and we're going to do that by, figuring out how we do that with a plan. Unfortunately,
Hired me to do a job, and I'm going to keep doing that job, and I'll
Okay.
give you the hard answers, and I'll be honest with you, and you guys may not like some of the answers, but I'm still going to give them
Yeah.
to you, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing.
Okay. The unfortunate thing is we can't flip a switch for funding. And, I think the only thing that Mr. Limita is asking and this board is asking is that let's put a plan together for getting there. We can't do it overnight. And I don't want to scare residents into thinking that we have an unsafe community. We've seen, the statistics of what all the surrounding communities have for staffing, and there's a reason why we're providing mutual aid much more than we're receiving it. I guess if we had a severe problem with the shortage of staffing, we could always have a automatic mutual aid with one of the neighboring departments, but I tend to believe that they probably would need an automatic mutual aid from us, more being the fact, because we're better staffed than any of them. So I just want to make sure the public understands that we are operating in a safe manner, but we agree that we can get even better, and that's our plan, and that's why we've been taking the steps that we have. So while we can't get from A to Z tomorrow, let's put together a plan over the next 4 years, 5 years, and let's figure out how we find the funding to make things happen.
That's what we're here to do.
Yes.
Are we,
Okay.
item 8A, Mr. Supervisor? Is the next item?
We are. So the board will consider a motion to approve zoning case number 680 to rezone parcels 12-26-300-007, 021, and 022 from R1 Single Family Residential to Neighborhood Commercial. And we have Jeremy Smith, our Planning and Zoning Administrator. Good evening.
Sir. Good evening. On the October 2nd, 2025, the Planning Commission voted 7-1 to recommend the approval of zoning case 680. The applicant requested the parcels mentioned above, currently zoned R1 Single Family Residential, changed to Neighborhood Commercial for the purpose of commercial development not previously allowed in the R1 zoning. The Planning and Zoning Department would recommend a motion for the approval for the above-mentioned parcels, also currently zoned R1, changed to Neighborhood Commercial. Applicants are here if there's any further questions.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Fike?
Is this Baldwin Road?
Yes, sir. This is just west of, these three parcels are just west of the two that have already been previously rezoned to NC.
So the future land use map indicates that this is, future land use suggests neighborhood commercial?
Yes, sir.
In fact, that whole area, I believe, has that same zoning right along that strip?
Along Baldwin Road from Enterprise Park to Saginaw Street.
Street.
Mhm, on the north side.
Okay. And they've already excluded a number of items themselves from this application in terms of things that they wouldn't put on that property?
Yes, sir. Just like the previous two parcels, they have 8 conditions that they've given for uses not to ever be built on that, and a 50-foot buffer, no build buffer in the back along the residential subdivision behind.
So we've had almost identical, the only difference is that it's adjacent parcels to what we've already passed and that the Planning Commission already recommended.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Motion
Okay, motion by Mr. Fike, supported by Mr. White.
Motion by Fike, supported by White on item 8A. Trustee Fike?
Yes.
Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Trustee Brown is absent, of course. Trustee White?
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Yancho?
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item B, the board will consider a motion to approve zoning case number 674T, swimming pool setbacks. Mr. Smith?
Yes, thank you. At the November 13th meeting, the planning commission held a public hearing on the zoning amendment listed for section 4.70, amending the swimming pool setbacks. The planning commission also recommends approval to the township board with an 8-0 vote. Planning and zoning department would also recommend motion approval for the above-mentioned text amendments as presented in your packet. If you look at your text, the red in strikeout is the things we will be removing. The blue is what we'll be adding. The reason for this request is we had a lot of pool issues, setbacks, building over lot lines, permits, no permits. This is to remove setting precedent going forward for any of those future applications for variances and such. This gives us, in the planning and zoning and building department, a much clearer understanding of how that ordinance needs to be written. In the new ordinance, they want to go from 15-foot setback from the side and rear from the basin of the pool instead of the 4-foot walkway that's been required previously.
Okay. Any questions?
I'll make the motion if it's in order, Mr. Supervisor.
It is. Okay,
Motion by myself, supported by Treasurer Yancho.
correct.
On item 8B, Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Yancho.
Yes.
Trustee Fike.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, the board will consider a motion to approve Resolution 25-32 for a non-consumer firework display to be held at Creasy Bicentennial Park for the tree lighting event on December 5th, 2025. Mr. Kimmer?
All right, good evening, everyone. So this fireworks display is for the tree lighting event to be held at Creasy Bicentennial Park on December 5th. This is an event that we've held for numerous years now. It is a requirement in order to hold the fireworks display to have a resolution passed by the board so that we can issue the permit. I'd also at this time like to give a special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Lockhart Roofing. They've generously donated funds to make this event happen. We've also received donations from Cooper Commercial, Fessler and Bowman, Rowe, and Genesis Credit Union in order to provide for this event. So,
good.
any questions?
Yes.
Have we ever looked at a drone display?
We have not. That's something we could look at sometime.
I've seen some of those and they're fantastic.
Sure.
And they don't have embers falling and things like that. I don't know anything about costs or anything else.
Yeah, we could definitely look into that in the future for a drone display.
I believe if you've seen the one at the Ally Challenge, I think that might have been 50,000 for that one, I believe, maybe.
Possibly.
I've heard that, whether or not it's true, I don't know. Ms. Hugo?
I just wanted to make a motion.
Oh, okay,
On item 8C.
okay, yeah,
I
Motion
just
by,
wanted to say one thing.
yeah.
So that's not this thing, right? That's not this December 9th thing. This is a separate December.
Correct. This is a separate thing, December 5th, free
Is
event.
there and everything?
Santa will be there, yes.
A good friend.
Yep, it's a
Yeah.
tree lighting event. Those other events that you see on that pamphlet, those are walking nights at Bicentennial Park nights that we will have the lights turned on.
Lots going on. Very good little presentation here for all of December at Bicentennial Park. If you want to get out, and hopefully we'll have some snow by then. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's coming sooner than you
Just making the
expect.
motion.
if we, so motion by
White.
Trustee Hugo on
Mr.
item
White.
8.
Mr. White
C?
supported. Yes, I also want to comment, yes, very nice job on the flyer for all the different events happening during the holiday season. The tree lighting is this flyer here.
Okay, it's the tree light.
And these are posted, I believe, on our social media as well as probably our website as well.
Yes,
So,
correct.
Shall I
lots-
proceed with the roll
Our
call?
only, our only challenge has been parking and the traffic. So make sure you pay attention to the directions. I'm not
That's
sure.
correct. Park as close to the south pavilion as you can. If you enter in off of Grand Blanc Road, keep heading towards the
So it's gonna
south
be
pavilion.
entrance only off Grand Blanc Road and exit only off Reed.
Let me confirm that. We can enter off,
Okay. All right. I would enter off Reed because it'd be a lot easier, but
secret's out now.
the bottom line is that get there early because it gets kind of crazy.
Yes.
Item
Okay.
8C, shall I
Yes,
proceed
go
with the
ahead.
roll call, Mr. Supervisor?
You may now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's see. Trustee White,
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett,
Yes.
myself, yes. Treasurer Yancho,
Yes.
Trustee Fike,
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The board will consider a motion to approve the purchase of a replacement security camera server and software from Teoma Systems for a total of $15,200. Additionally, the motion also authorizes the township superintendent to execute all necessary contracts and purchase orders related to this procurement. Mr. Lucevelt.
Hello, everybody. So the server is 9 years old at this point. We usually try to replace it at 7 years or before. We put it off because of budget constraints at the time, so at this moment, it is getting close to a dangerous time where it might stop working. So essentially, this is to replace a security camera server. The security cameras that it captures are of this building, the pole barns for the DPW, and the police building. They're also monitored by the dispatch as well, so them going down would be a bit of a problem for that.
Nathan, will this also handle the fire department building as well?
There'd be a separate one at the fire department building, so we don't cause too much traffic going over the network between the buildings.
Okay. All right.
I do want to just make one note that we do have $14,000 budgeted for this, and so this would also be contingent on asking, we have, it's more than 14,000, so.
We need,
I didn't catch that last one.
I have
it's budgeted for
14,487 that I can be allocating towards this, and so it's also reliant on a budget adjustment that would be $1,000 that I'll reach out to them, so,
So we'll need to make a budget adjustment of $1,000 at some point.
yes.
Okay. All right, there's a motion by somebody, did I see? Mr. Fike?
Motion.
Supported by Mr. White.
Motion by Fike, supported by White on item 8D. Trustee White,
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett,
Yes.
myself, yes. Treasurer Yancho,
Yes.
Trustee Fike,
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, the FOIA law for Michigan is a total of about 15 pages, and the board received a copy of this last week. If you haven't already had one in hand, we wanted to send another one out. It's basically the Attorney General's Handbook on Freedom of Information Act. The FOIA requests in the general office, not including the police department fees, are minimal due to what's being requested. Example, so FOIA requests that come into the township versus the police department are totally different in terms of what they're asking for, obviously. The township, things like building permits, plot plans, assessor records, code violations are the ones that are being requested on a daily basis. In the past month, the general office, the township here, has received extensive requests asking for all employees, which we have well over 200 employees, including board members, our text messages, emails, memos, social media posts, et cetera, during a specific date range or from January 1st to the current date. That's a lot of information to gather from 200 individuals. It is an estimate of several hundred hours to go through this much information, which is required by law when such a request is made. Like I said, we've gone through, each year probably an average of at least 1,000 would be my guess. So anyways, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session, review an attorney-client privileged memorandum pursuant to MCL 15.2431G.
G. Motion by Bennett,
Support by Mr. White.
supported by White.
Supervisor, could I just clarify that that motion is pursuant to MCL 15.2681H to discuss an attorney-client privilege memorandum that's exempt from disclosure pursuant to 15.2431G?
One more time?
Sorry, I apologize. The subsection of the FOIA that will be, of the Open Meetings Act that we'll be going into is Section 81H, to discuss an attorney-client privilege memorandum that's exempt from disclosure pursuant to MCL 15.2431G.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to include,
Right. All right.
and it was supported by Mr. White.
Motion by Bennett, supported by White. Okay, Trustee White,
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett,
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Yancho,
Yes.
Trustee Fike,
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
No.
5-1, motion passes. 40 PM, Mr. Supervisor.
8:40 PM. Okay. I think, anybody care to make a motion?
I would make a motion to authorize the township clerk to deny the FOIA appeal dated November 11th, 2025 in the form recommended by the
Support.
attorney.
And support by Mr. Yancho.
Motion,
I'm sorry. I would make a motion to authorize the township clerk to deny the FOIA appeal dated November 11th, 2025 in the form recommended by the township attorney.
motion by
Supported
White.
by Mr. Yancho.
Supported by Yancho. Okay. Trustee White,
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett,
Yes.
myself, yes. Treasurer Yancho,
Yes.
Trustee Fike,
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
I don't think I can vote since I wasn't.
Doesn't, we can't, you have to vote if you're here. There's no abstaining from voting.
No.
Trustee Brown is absent. So we have a 5-1 vote. Motion passes.
Anything to report, Mr. Limita? Mr. Chubb? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Have a good Thanksgiving, everyone.